Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you all for joining in. Can anyone confirm if I'm audible? So, thank you all for joining in for this Sunday morning. Is a happening morning in India, particularly because this happens to be a long weekend for Jagannath Rath Yatra. And all over India, there are many Rath Yatra festivals going on. Similarly, here in Pune, also we have a Rath Yatra festival today, starting from around 1 o'clock today afternoon. And along with that, we also have this ongoing Srila Prabhupada Smaranotsav, which is kind of a part of our last year when we started an initiative of where almost around 800 plus people or devotees had signed up for reading Prabhupada Lilamrits. Almost most of them completed more than half of them, half of the Lilamrit study group that time. And we had quiz also for that based on Prabhupada Lilamrit. So this year we are kind of thought of inviting the disciples of our dear Srila Prabhupada. And today we have the great fortune to have once again with us his guest Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhu, who's for me personally also one of my greatest inspiration. With due permission of Prabhuji, I'll briefly introduce Prabhuji about him, and then I'll request Prabhuji to speak further. So his case, Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhuji is a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and from last more than a decade and a half, he's also rendering the service of the initiating spiritual master. For half a century, he has been enlightening the illusioned and suffering souls on this planet with this most sublime and enlightening knowledge of Krishna consciousness, which, when followed, delivers one from all anxieties and qualifies one to enter the spiritual world upon leaving his or her present material body. And as a means to reach the people all across the world, what ISKCON at large have done in the last 2 years, going online. I know Prabhuji from back in 2007 when I was in America, and I got connected to Prabhuji's Ultimate Self-Realization course. Prabhuji has been doing this online outreach almost close to 2 decades, and thousands and thousands of people are connected. And one of the best aspects of this whole online outreach that Prabhuji does to answer questions and raise the consciousness of everyone, Prabhuji is also very quick in responding to queries. Anyone from any part of the world can write a query to Prabhuji, and you would definitely get an answer in, if not next 1 or 2 days, despite Prabhuji's all over world extensive travels. Prabhuji quickly responds to it, and you get that email as the Ultimate Self-Realization, that newsletter, and there the answer would be there. So along with this course where he shares his realizations, there is also selected correspondence which are also made available via Thought for the Day as an online magazine, which is sent daily via the internet to inspire and guide his tens of thousands of students across the globe. To know more about it, you can please visit www.joincourse.com. Thus lighting the torch of divine knowledge in the hearts of his audience, reliving their material suffering through his devotional music, his lectures, and most of all through his personal contact. This spiritual teacher is committed to nothing less than revolutionizing the consciousness of the entire world. And once again, I have been myself a recipient of his grace and mercy. I received a lot of guidance when I was back in America from Prabhuji and Mataji, and also my sister and brother-in-law are due disciples of Prabhuji, and taking inspiration, and literally the whole family, this little family and the whole world family is taking guidance under Prabhuji and moving forward in their spiritual life. So we'd like to welcome his guest Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhuji for this today morning Srila Prabhupada Smaranotsav. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking out your time and coming once again to enlighten our hearts. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padeshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Prasarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtajadesha Vinay. I had my first opportunity to get Prabhupada's association back in 1969. Bhaktivinoda Das Brahmachari was preaching in Berkeley, and he invited me to come. I was so foolish, I didn't go. And then the following year, in 1970, I was again invited to come to Los Angeles to associate with Prabhupada, but again, I didn't go. I was so foolish. But then in 1971, desiring spiritual perfection, I realized I must fully surrender myself to God. I had to fully surrender myself to God. So I was praying to God, please, God, guide me how I can be your perfect servant. So then, in answer to my prayer, Krishna sent Vishnu Swami to Austin, Texas. And by associating with him, I became very attracted to this process of Krishna consciousness, to chanting. And then I became very much desiring also to, actually in the beginning I was thinking, well, because I was a songwriter, I'll just write Krishna conscious songs. That was my idea. I want to become one of those disciples, surrendered souls. I was thinking, just like George Harrison had come out with My Sweet Lord, a big mega hit, and I was thinking I'll write Krishna conscious songs. In this way, I will push forward Krishna consciousness. I didn't think I'd become a disciple. But one morning, I was actually, devotees let me live in the temple. I was living there. They brought me to the temple and stay with them. As a learning experience, I was taking it. But one morning, we had an amazing thing happen. We were out on Harinam, and some DJ from a radio station handed us a record, the Radha Krishna Temple album. And they thought it was too spiritual to play on their radio show. So we took it back to the temple, and we were playing that. And my service in the morning was to vacuum the temple room rug. So I had that record playing, the second cut on the album, Samsaradava Nalalida Loka Shanaya Karunya. And I was backing away. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I was hearing these devotees, the way they were, the feeling, I could tune into the feelings they had for Prabhupada, the love they had for Srila Prabhupada. And it was the most amazing emotion. I never experienced anything like that in the material world. And love, the material world is always, it's just lust actually, masquerading as love. But here I was tuning into the loving feelings of the devotees for Srila Prabhupada. I was backing away, and then this thought just flooded through my brain. Wouldn't it be beautiful if I gave my life to Prabhupada? The tears were streaming down my face. And I said, when can I get initiated? So now I was all ready. I wanted to get initiated. So we had our first chance. I had not seen Prabhupada yet, but just tuning into the love the devotees had for him, and the feeling they had, the pure feeling they had of love for him, convinced me that I should also become a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So then in June of 71, we had a great opportunity to go from Austin out to San Francisco. Prabhupada was coming in for the Ratha Yatra. So now I had my first chance to actually see my beloved spiritual master. So at the airport, there was about 300 of us there. And in those days, there was no security. You could go right into the terminal. We were lined up with a jet bridge, entered into the terminal. We had about 150 devotees on each side, the corridor, human corridor of devotees, chanting and dancing in ecstasy. So all the people came off the flight and they were amazed. They came into this huge kirtan off the airplane. And finally there, Prabhupada came. I expected some huge, but he was very short actually, 5 foot something. But it was so wonderful to see Srila Prabhupada the first time, to bow down at his lotus feet. And then one auspicious thing in the Vedic culture, was to put yogurt, put yogurt on the roadway, the walkway. So they put a stream of yogurt through the airport terminal, and Prabhupada was walking in a stream of yogurt. And then we got out to the driveway where the cars pull up and passengers get in. And there was no vehicle for Prabhupada. They had not arranged a vehicle. So Prabhupada is actually a picture of it. Prabhupada standing there like a stately gentleman, very patiently waiting for his ride. Hundreds of devotees standing around, all looking at him. And Prabhupada didn't get angry. He just very patiently stood there like an aristocratic gentleman waiting for his ride. Now, we devotees from Texas, we were very, very stupid. We had a vehicle right there at the airport. We could have offered Prabhupada a ride. It wasn't my vehicle, but we could have offered Prabhupada a ride, and we didn't do that. We thought, let's get to the Rath Yatra site so we can be there when Prabhupada arrives to greet him there. And we drove off in our car to the Golden Gate Park, leaving Prabhupada behind at the airport. I can't believe how stupid. But anyway, Prabhupada finally arrived, and he got on Lady Subhadra's cart. And the first word that came from his mouth that I first heard in his presence, Jagannath. He said, Jagannatha Shami, Nayanavadagami Bhava. He didn't go, it's wonderful, get the most wonderful lecture. He said, every one of you have seen God. Every one of you has seen God, because it says, when our eyes are anointed with love of God, we can see him everywhere. That is the injunction of the Shastras. We have to develop our seeing power. So even this way, he was saying, you have all seen God, because Krishna says, I'm the light of the sun and the moon. He says, I'm the taste of water. So Prabhupada said, every day you are drinking water once, twice, more than that every day. Every time you drink water, you remember that Krishna is the taste of the water. You immediately become Krishna conscious. Become Krishna conscious is not difficult. It simply requires practice. He gave the most wonderful lecture. There's about 300 devotees and 3,000 hippies. And then we proceeded with the festival. He gave another lecture. And this way we spent several days with Prabhupada in San Francisco. And then he went to Los Angeles, which is the world headquarters, and not Mayapur. Los Angeles was the world headquarters. And every morning, he would go on this famous morning walks. He would go on the morning walk, and he'd come back from the walk, and we would line up on the sidewalk, a whole line of devotees down the sidewalk. He would get out of the car and walk down the sidewalk over in front of the building up to his quarters in the back. So we would be a whole line of this. We'd all have a flower in our hand, getting ready to offer to Srila Prabhupada. So I was with Vishnu Jan Swami. I was standing right by Vishnu Jan. He got more than a flower. He got a hug. Wow. Prabhupada got out of the car. He gave him a big hug. Oh, I felt so good because I was one of his men. You see, my Vishnu Jan is getting hugged by Prabhupada. Felt so happy to see Vishnu Jan getting embraced by Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada started coming down the line. He had a basket of flowers, and we would give Prabhupada a flower, and then he'd give us a flower. So in this way, you had your own one-on-one, just you and Prabhupada. You would give Prabhupada a flower, and he'd give you. Every devotee got their own one-on-one loving exchange with Prabhupada. It was so sweet. So now I have the flower in my hand that Prabhupada gave me, and he's walking down the queue. But I'm thinking, I want to have another darshan of my beloved Guru Maharaj. So I stood up on the steps in front of the building just to watch Prabhupada as he went by. And, I call it drinking Prabhupada into your heart through your eyes. So I was standing there drinking Prabhupada into my heart through my eyes. And Prabhupada looked up. He said, he saw, here's this brahmachari. He's not in the flower queue. And Prabhupada wondered, Prabhupada was thinking, I wonder if that brahmachari got a flower or not yet. So Prabhupada held up a flower. Did you get a flower yet? And I held up my flower and showed him, yes, Prabhupada, I got my flower. So Prabhupada singing me out of the crowd to make sure I'd gotten a flower. And that's the great kindness of Srila Prabhupada. He cared about, I wasn't a big devotee, I'm just some uninitiated bhakta, wasn't a big leader, just a rank and file member of the crowd, all I was. And Prabhupada wanted to make sure I got my flower. That was, so anyway, it was so nice. Many devotees got initiated there. And Prabhupada would chant each bead, he would chant around every devotee. So we went on for several days. Many devotees getting initiated. So the ceremonies went on for a long time. But I'd only been chanting for 5 months. I couldn't get initiated. And I was so worried. Oh, Prabhupada's an old man. He can die at any time. What if I don't get initiated? So I remember I was walking back and forth between the two buildings crying that they wouldn't let me get initiated. I was crying. So anyway, we went back to Austin. And the most wonderful thing happened. July, I wasn't qualified, but in August, now 6 months is up. I'm now ready. And Papa was no longer in the US, he was in London. The Vishnu John Swami wrote a letter to London recommending me and 2 other boys, Tom the Bead Man and Chris Pinkard, recommending 3 of us for initiation. And so the most wonderful thing came. A letter came on dated 12 August 1971 from London. My dear sons, Prabhupada wrote to the 3 of us, call us his sons. My dear sons, upon the recommendation of His Grace Vishnu Jana Maharaj, I have gladly consented to accept you 3 as my duly initiated disciples. Your beads are duly chanted on me, are enclosed herewith. I have given the spiritual names as follows. He gave Sankarshan Das, another name for Vishnu, Sankarshan. So Prabhupada said, Vishnu Jan Maharaj tells me in his absence while he's opening one center in San Antonio, you 3 boys are maintaining nicely there in Austin. So you're all very qualified and you've been trained up under the expert guidance of Vishnu Jana Swami. So you should all work cooperatively to push on this movement there in Texas and make our Austin center a grand success. Well, that's an order I got with my initiation, and we're still here in Austin, working to carry out that order. Papa gave me that order in 1971, make our Austin Center a grand success, and we're still working here in Austin with our center here. So then at the ceremony, I collected some donations, dakshina. So I wrote a letter to Prabhupada with the 3 checks. And I got a wonderful letter just to me this time, not the three sons, a letter to me personally. 7 September 1971. My dear Sankarshan, please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 2nd September 1971 and a note of the contents. I've received the 3 checks enclosed for $15, $12.50, and $10.76 respectively, and I thank you very much for the same. Also, I've seen the clipping of Vishnu Jana Maharaj speaking with the mayor. It appears he's doing very nicely. They are preaching in Austin. Please offer him my blessings. Wow, I got to offer Vishnu Jana Prabhupada's blessings. That was something. And then he says, I can see also you are a very sincere and enthusiastic boy and are anxious for spreading this movement. Those are first-class qualifications for making advancement in Krishna consciousness. So continue enthusiastically as you are doing, and sure Krishna will surely bless you. So that was a great encouragement for me to be enthusiastic. Prabhupada assured me if I can maintain this enthusiasm for pushing forward Krishna consciousness, and Krishna would bless me. So in this way, my spiritual life began. I was now an initiated disciple. And the next time I got Prabhupada's association was in Pittsburgh. Vishnu Jan Swami, we had a traveling rock opera. And I was one of the actors in the rock opera. We were playing like hippies, pretending like we were smoking marijuana. And Prabhupada was sitting in the audience, and he had his sense of humor. he said, oh, the hippies are doing their business. And then he said, are those all our men up there? Prabhupada's sense of humor was something. And then after that, and then several days later, it was for Janmashtami time in New Vrindavan. It was wonderful. They made a big pavilion there. There's a little farmhouse in those days. It wasn't a big temple, but they made a big pavilion for the festival with just a roof with no walls. And there was devotees from all over North America came. There was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of devotees there. So it was Janmashtami. We're fasting till midnight. And so then finally at midnight, we have the midnight arti. Now we've been fasting all day. We weren't used to fasting. Americans were not used to fasting. We had many devotees had their plates there in the hand, getting ready to break the fast as soon as midnight came. And then after the arti, Prabhupada said, now we'll read Krishna book. So at 12:30 at night, we started reading Krishna book. 1 chapter, 2 chapters, 3 chapters. Devotees are just dying with hunger, and here we go. And then Prabhupada, his sense of humor, he said, I think you're getting impatient. And then we went, and Prabhupada said we could take prasadam. So that was very wonderful to see Prabhupada's sense of humor. And then I went many, many years not seeing Prabhupada. Actually, later on, I was in Gainesville, Florida, and I started up a lunch program, taking a lunch every day to the campus. And but then there was a whole thing in ISKCON, every devotee should be on book distribution. So my temple president was wondering whether Sankarshan be on book distribution or should keep giving out the lunch on the campus. So he wrote Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, if you feed them prasadam, they will become devotees. So the lunch program continued. And at one point, the campus authorities came and they said, you must stop giving this lunch out on this campus. You can't do this anymore. So devotees defied the Qazi's order, and the police came. They put the devotees in handcuffs and dragged them to the squad cars. The students were booing the police. The devotees were arrested and handcuffed for giving out prasadam. So we took it to the court, and guess what? The court sided with us, and we won. And now that lunch program has been going on since 1973, uninterrupted. It's a big thing now, the free lunch program at the University of Florida. It's a very big, famous program now going on in the University of Florida campus. So that was a wonderful thing. We actually we sent Prabhupada. I personally sent Prabhupada a picture of our devotees getting handcuffed and being dragged to the squad cars by the police. Prabhupada must have really been pleased with his devotees for willing to be arrested for distributing prasadam. And the next time I had to associate with his divine grace, of course, I'm not mentioning all the letters. That's another thing. When I first joined, I went and asked Vishnu John Swami a question. He said, I don't know. Why don't you write Prabhupada? So I got into the habit of writing Prabhupada when I had questions about this and that. But then there was a new policy in ISKCON because there was so many letters now. Many devotees were joining, and it was becoming very difficult for them to answer all the letters. So there was a new policy. From now on, only GBCs, sannyasis, and temple presidents can write. Nobody else should write Prabhupada a letter. But I was desperate. I needed to have that contact with Prabhupada. So I took a chance and I wrote him a letter in violation of the official policy. And Prabhupada wrote me back. He reminded me of the policy, but then he said, but if there's any urgent matter, I'm always happy to hear from my beloved disciples. So Prabhupada gave me, Prabhupada told me I could write if I had an urgent need, and I did do that. Until I no longer felt the urgent need, and then I stopped. But the Prabhupada was very kind to me. In spite of the policy, he was willing to, I wasn't any big leader, just some rank and file brahmachari. But Prabhupada was very kind that he agreed to correspond with me. And he wrote me many wonderful letters. So now the last time I had to be in his presence was there in 1975. That was in Atlanta. I came up from our Gainesville temple to associate with Prabhupada in Atlanta. It was really wonderful. I would get, Prabhupada would be sitting at Vyasa-san, and I would get right there to the Vyasa-san, as close as I get on his right-hand side. And standing across from Prabhupada was Shrutakirti, his personal servant. And I remember I would look across Prabhupada's lap at Shrutakirti. He'd give me the most wonderful, beautiful, loving smile. And I could see that Prabhupada's mercy was bouncing off Shrutakirti and showering me. I was being showered with Prabhupada's mercy. It was bouncing off Shrutakirti. He was with Prabhupada every minute, his personal servant. So that was very wonderful to feel Prabhupada's association through the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Shrutakirti Prabhu. And then I had the great opportunity. I was recommended for second initiation by the temple president. And in those days, you would probably personally give your Brahmin, your Gayatri mantra, your Brahmin thread. So you would go in and be you and Prabhupada all alone in the room. It was so amazing. Prabhupada put this thread over my head. I had me show me how to chant the Gayatri, but I was a little confused because there's 10 mantras. And let's see, no, there's 7 mantras, and they're 10 times chanted. So I was wondering, do you the first mantra, second mantra, third mantra, you loop the loop 10 times? Or do you chant the first mantra 10 times, the second mantra 10 times? I was confused. So Prabhupada demonstrated. He demonstrated for me, very clear that you chant the first mantra 10 times, the second mantra 10 times, and that way you do your Gayatri. So in this way, I was blessed by Srila Prabhupada in so many ways. And Prabhupada says, I always feel my spiritual master is with me. So I know that my spiritual master is still with me. It's not that even an ordinary person doesn't die, Prabhupada says, but to speak of a great personality like the bona fide spiritual master, you see. So I know that Prabhupada is still with me. He's blessing me with his sublime mercy at every minute. And I'm just praying that Krishna and Srila Prabhupada that I can be now the pure devotee who can actually successfully carry out the order given to me by Srila Prabhupada, and that he gave to all of his disciples. He said, our request is that to these Europeans and Americans, the Indians hadn't joined you. In those days, and back in 73, it was all Indian, all Europeans and Americans. Prabhupada said, so therefore our request is that these Europeans and Americans who have taken to Krishna consciousness just become perfect in understanding the science of Krishna and become guru and deliver the whole world. So I'm just praying to Prabhupada, please, my dear spiritual master, bless me and empower me. I can now carry out your order to deliver the world. So my half hour is up. There's about 30 more seconds. And I really appreciate y'all giving me this opportunity to share share something with you all about my most beloved spiritual master, our ISKCON founder, Acharya, His Divine Grace. Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivajrakacharya Astatarisashi Shimad A.C. Bhakti Vedantati Dandi Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Would you have time to take any questions, or shall we conclude now? What would you prefer?
Questions, certainly. Any questions?
Sorry, Prabhuji. There was a little sound issue at my end. 1 second, Prabhuji. Yeah. Sorry, there was a sound issue at my end. Can you say that again, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna. Am I audible? Hare Krishna. A little technical glitch at my end. Am I audible to you, Prabhuji, now?
Prabhuji, you're audible to audience, and it seems that Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhuji has welcome questions also.
All right. Okay, so we do have some questions here, Prabhuji. We'll take that. The first question coming from Mother Medhavani, and she's asking, what are the top 3 qualities that you would like to recognize in Srila Prabhupada or mention about Srila Prabhupada that inspired you to surrender your life to Srila Prabhupada?
Well, actually, what inspired me was to see how he transformed the devotees, how their lives were transformed by surrendering to him. Because even before meeting him, I was convinced to become his disciple just by seeing how he transformed the disciples. That's what convinced me, seeing how he completely transformed the lives of the disciples.
Prabhu, Madan Chandra Prabhu, you're on mute.
Oh. Hare Krishna. There's another question from Mother Yashwini. She's saying, there are a lot of tribulations are coming into my life. I feel like I'm useless in the entire Krishna's creation. I want to serve Vaishnavas. I want to be in Krishna consciousness strongly, firmly, and with dedication want to serve people for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga. I feel like before approaching Krishna, shall I completely surrender to Srila Prabhupada and Nityanand Prabhu wholeheartedly and let them guide me? Because avidya or ignorance are not letting me have realizations of this transcendental knowledge. How should she become firm and fixed in her Krishna conscious journey?
Yeah, just follow Prabhupada's teachings. Read Prabhupada's books and do what Prabhupada says. Don't listen to your rascal mind anymore. You not take Prabhupada as your authority and do whatever Prabhupada says.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, generally, many times people ask this question. You had already expressed that in your presentation when you were making the point. In current scenario, it's not that everyone get an opportunity to interact with their spiritual master. Like you were making a point that, how GBC had made a point at one point of time that nobody else can write letter to Srila Prabhupada. So when we are serving in literally at a distance, we may get to hear from them. We have that association through Vani, but when it comes to clarifying certain things, sometimes it doesn't work out. Of course, we do have the seniors guiding the devotees. What would be your suggestion in today's context of ISKCON, which have a little bit changed from the past?
Talking about writing their spiritual master? What
Yes, directly having an opportunity to interact and making an inquiry to a spiritual master.
I would certainly try to do that. They have an urgent need. I mean, Prabhupada was willing to hear the urgent needs of his disciples. So I would certainly approach your spiritual master with your urgent needs.
But because of the busy schedule, but because the schedule of many of the leaders today, it looks like at times becomes difficult.
They weren't as busy as Prabhupada.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna devotees, the forum is open. If anyone has any other questions you would like to ask Prabhuji directly, if you wish, you can raise your hand and you can go ahead and ask. All right. Yes, Mother, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dalat Pranams. Thank you for the very wonderful session. So my query is, you said you had taken in your heart that you want to take initiation from Srila Prabhupada even before you met Srila Prabhupada. And also you said you were excited to receive the first letter which was addressed to three, as dear sons. And then you got the letter which was addressed to you, right? As dear Sankarshan, like that you mentioned. So I want to understand what was your first feeling when you got this letter from Srila Prabhupada? And what was your first feeling when you got initiated by Srila Prabhupada? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Ecstasy. That's super ecstatic. Super ecstatic.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. One word answer that sums up the whole discussion. Ecstatic. Krishna consciousness meant to be that way. We have a hand by Mother Masya Devi. Well, you can unmute and you can ask a question. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srimati Guru Mata and all the assembled devotees. My question is not on this one. My question is that I'm studying about Ragatmika and Raganuga Bhakti. Is Haridas Thakur, it's Ragatmika or Raganuga Bhakti? He comes under which Bhakti?
I don't follow the question. I'm sorry.
It's regarding Ragatmika Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Sri Haridas Thakur Namacharya, he comes under Raganuga or Ragatmika Bhakti.
We're simply following Bhagavad Gita. As far as of these different Raganuga Bhakti or we're not interested in these things are not, but as far as Haridas Thakur, I don't know. But what we should know is how we can become Krishna conscious by taking the order of the spiritual master as our life and soul. We're not interested in what kind of rasa do I have. These are not very important things. Sometimes somebody tries to jump to their rasa. That's sahajism. It's taking the process cheaply. We're simply, our rasa is to be the sold out servant of Guru and Krishna. That's our concern. And by coming to that position, that one of those chief perfection, not by trying to jump to Raganuga or Radhakamik or this or that.
This is for the Bhakti Sastri course that we are studying now. So just to understand the difference between Raganuga and Ragatmika, I don't know if you can help me out. Otherwise, yeah, thank you so much.
They're teaching you in the course, and you should study, take the reading material they've given you. It should be all answered there.
Thank you so much, Gurudev. Thank you so much. Please accept my humble obeisance. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I would take another question here. Like, you have seen this, you have been practicing for almost 5 decades, literally 4 to 5 decades. Have seen the whole ISKCON journey from the beginning until today. Have been guiding devotees and disciples all over the world. If a question has to be asked to you about what would be your best 3 suggestions or advices for the current generation of all of us to become steady in our devotional life?
Strictly chant at least 16 rounds every day and strictly follow the regulated principles. Sex life is only for procreation. If you're married, sex life is only for procreation, not for recreation. Minimize, more you can minimize eating and sleeping, mating and defending, and focus on chanting Hare Krishna, the more you'll make advancement.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. In that, when you were answering that, I was just remembering your own personal example that we know of, that how early in the morning you get up, you chant your rounds, despite your very, very busy schedule. You've been traveling, maybe because of COVID, travels might be restricted, but generally you travel very frequently. As I said in the beginning, you're an inspiration for one and all, either grahasthas or brahmachari. It's a wonderful example and being such a great inspiring figure for all of us. So I don't see any other hands here or any other question for the time being. Devotees, is there anyone, if in case I have missed any other questions we have, we can take it. Or else I have already shared the link of Prabhuji's website. Please do visit that, do subscribe to that Ultimate Self-Realization course, and you'll get to hear Prabhuji's realizations on everyday basis, and you can interact with Prabhuji also moving forward. My request, those who are raising hand, kindly switch on your camera so that makes it a little more personal, so we know who's asking a question. So if that can work out, then we'll do that, give you the right to ask a question, because that's a little bit more effective. There's one thing on the chat. Okay, fine. I don't know what's on. All right, so Prabhuji, over here, I guess there are no more questions here. So I guess we can pause, or in case if you have any concluding comments and concluding suggestions for all of us to become more serious in our devotional life, if you'd like to give some more guidelines for us, we can.
Very simple. Take pure devotional service as your only business. I must be now the totally sold out servant of spiritual master Krishna. My every thought, word, and deed now should be completely, totally for their pleasure and satisfaction.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have one question if I could ask.
Yes, mother, because you switched on your camera, now you can ask.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask that is it very essential to take Diksha if you want to walk the way of Krishna consciousness? Is it very, can't we can't we inculcate Krishna consciousness in our daily practices, in our following the 4 regulative principles, obeying the laws, everything of the Lord without taking Diksha? Why I'm asking this is because in Srimad Bhagavatam, I have read that Lord Krishna says that abandon all sort of religions and follow me. I agree that we should trust. We should trust. That is very important. I agree with that. But why I'm asking this question is because I have a quest in me to read all the scriptures. I take interest in them. A curiosity arises in me. What is the difference between them, and what are the similarities between them? Just a thirst. So that's why I'm asking.
Tadvadi pranipatena paripashtena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanastattvatarsana. Krishna gives this order. Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. You say, well, I just had to surrender to Krishna. That's true. But Krishna says you have to take a spiritual master. So if you say, well, I'll surrender to Krishna, but not to the spiritual master, that means you're not surrendering to Krishna. Krishna says you have to have a spiritual master. So Krishna wants to see how much you're surrendering to his representative, the bona fide spiritual master, and then he'll accept you as his devotee. Otherwise, not.
Thank you so much. Mother, you are muted. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, there is another question which is coming here right now, is about we stay around with devotees, and the very first offense to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord is not to commit any offense or aparadh to the Vaishnavas. While we have abundance of Vaishnava Sangha, so devotees are asking, how do we prevent ourselves from committing any aparadh to Vaishnavas when we are living day and night with them?
Always be in the mood of loving service. Always try to, the more you please the devotees, the more Krishna is pleased. So always try to deal with the devotees in such a way the devotees are pleased.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We have another question from Anand Vardhan Prabhu. Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev, kindly please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Gurudev, all glories to Guru Mata, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Gurudev, you mentioned about the association of Srila Prabhupada. At the same time, after some time, you didn't have much association. So, as a disciple, should I make a plan to have more and more association with my spiritual master like yourself? Or should I just be satisfied with just a Vani association from long?
Take every opportunity you can to get his Bhakti association. That's what I did. I didn't have many opportunities. Whenever I got the opportunity, I took it for sure. Just like in Atlanta, I stood right by the Vyasa-san as close as I could get. There was like 300 devotees there. I was right there, right by the Vyasa-san, like inches away from his lotus feet. So get as close as you can whenever you have the chance.
Thank you, Srila Gurudev. Thank you.
Thank you, all the guests. Is there any question? I don't see any hand up and the chat message here. Okay, we do have something on the chat message. Mother Yagya is asking, today in ISKCON, when we have so many options to take Diksha from, as a disciple wanting to take Diksha, what should be the proper approach? In other words, how should we select our spiritual master?
Whatever inspires you the most is to be Krishna conscious.
Hare Krishna. There's another question coming, Prabhuji. Since we are able to have more Vani association, we try our best to please our Guru Maharaj. How do we know that we are pleasing our Guru Maharaj when we don't have personal association?
You can ask him. My dear spiritual master, are you pleased with me? You can write him and ask him.
Hari. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Devotees are writing that this is a perfect and crisp one-line answers that Prabhuji is giving. and there is no ambiguity. We know what Prabhuji is indicating through that. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for those wonderful and crisp answers. Hare Krishna, devotee, we do still have some minutes of Prabhuji's time if in case anyone has anything. If not, I would like to express my gratitude to Prabhuji once again for giving his wonderful association. We just met a couple of months ago when Prabhuji had come and spoken to all our Srimad Bhagavatam participants and also Bhagavad Gita participants for concluding Bhagavad Gita study, and for those who are starting our journey on Srimad Bhagavatam study. Thank you once again, Prabhuji, for taking out time and giving us your opportunity to associate with you through this online forum, and inspiring all our hearts once again to become a staunch follower of Srila Prabhupada like yourself, so that we can continue to support. Oh, Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, and thank you all the devotees. And we sincerely look forward for your association, Prabhuji, once again. And please keep giving us your wonderful association like this and inspiring our hearts.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. His Grace Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhuji ki. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.